Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Jiu Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Shri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Transcendental Appearance Day on Nandotsava, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Transcendental Nityananda Shakti Avesh Avatar Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila. We'll have to turn off the lights. I mean the fan when we light it. Not yet. When we light it, then we'll turn off the fan. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila. Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sapadikar Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gaur Kishore Das Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Gosai Sri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Vaishnava Sarva Bhaum Sri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Vedanta Charja Baladev Vidyabhushana Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Narottam Srinivas Yamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Gaur Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Antardvip Mayapur Simanta Dvip Godram Dvip Madhya Dvip Kola Dvip Ritu Dvip Janu Dvip Moda Druma Dvip Rudadvip Atmaka Shri Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jai Shri Gaura Mandala Shri Kshetra Mandala Shri Braj Mandala Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvara Shavanatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham Ki Jai. Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashta Shaki Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Ananga Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi ki jai. Shri Gopi Swar Mahadev ki jai. Sarva Bhishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhana ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiva ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nrsimha Dev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhu Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Charudam Charu Sampradaya Charu Acharya ki jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Aur Ananya Shaka Mat Samuha ki jai. Shri Vishva Vaishnav Raj Sabha ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai Tribhuvana Pavana Harinam Samkirtana ki jai. Tribhuvana Mangala Harinam Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajana ki jai. Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Krishna Janmastami Mahamahotsav Titi ki jai. Jai Shri Nandotsava ki jai. Jai Shri Nandotsava ki jai. Shri Nandotsava ki jai. Nanda Maharaj ki jai. Yashoda Maya ki jai. Dauji Bhaiya ki jai. Krishna Kanaiya ki jai. Krishna Kanaiya ki jai. Krishna Kanaiya ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The transcendental Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi of His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, transcendental Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaur Premanande. So now we'll do the Guru Puja of our Srila Prabhupada. And offering of the garland. What?
Mother's bring a small offering, whole offering.
Who?
Mother.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to do that first then before the Guru Puja, no? Oh, here he comes. Okay. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Vando Mui Savadhana Mate. Vando Mui Savadhana Mate. Jahara Prasade Bhai He Bhava Chorya Jai. Jahara pade bhai e bhava hariya jai. Krishna prapti hoi jaha hoite. Krishna prapti hoi jaha hoite. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Korya Aikya. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Korya Aikya. Arna Korya Mane Asha. Rati aise uttama gati. Shri Guru Charane Rati aise uttama gati. Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Chakudana dilo je janme janme Prabhu se. Divya gyan hriday prakashita. Divya gyan hriday prakashita. Bhakti jahoite avidya vinashadate. Prema bhakti jahoite avidya vinashadate. Vede gai jahara charita. Gai Jahara Sarita. Shri Guru Karuna Se Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Follow! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Nitai, 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 Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Gauranga. Oh, Nitai, 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 Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Gauranga. Oh, Nitai, 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 Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Gauranga.
Hare Jai Sri Sri Guru Brahmanari Giri Hari Rani Vinodi Hari Jogi Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Nara Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Shri Bhaktivedanta Shri Nara Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Shri Bhaktivedanta Bhaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Shri Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Bhakti Daita Mara Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Bhakti Raksha Shri Shira Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Vishwamasu Tattu Shishma Shila Bhakti Raksha Shri Shira Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj Jai Nitya Vishwamasu Shishma Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namachar Sharidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shri Guru Satyam Goswami Sri Satyananda Bhakti Thakur Ki Jai Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Bhakti Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nirguna Gurvar Ki Jai Sai Goswami Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Swarutam Vardhanandari Gaur Krishna Ki Jai Prem Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Asadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Anjani Mahakama Samantha Korodini Dei Natri Korodini Chujik Janjani Korodini Dei Korodini Mahapu Shri Abdi Dham Chardam Char Sampradaya Char Chaya Ki Jai Shri Nandotsava Mahama Lotsava Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Ananda Bhakti Vaishnava Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Avirbhav Mahamotsav Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Vyasa Puja Ki Jai Ananda Bhakti Vaishnava Ki Jai Samagata Gaura Ki Jai Pujabhat Bhakti Vedanta Padmanabha Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Prabhu Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Samagata Gaura Bhakti Ki Jai All glories to Samagata.
Everyone had a chance to offer flowers to Prabhupada? Everyone already did? Okay.
There's three full cakes here also.
3 cakes.
Yeah,
Oh.
3 full cakes here.
Cake, I bring. So I'm looking for problem.
Don't open it, just keep it closed. Oh, you're going to offer it now. Oh. Okay.
Really Jai Nandotsava.
Okay, so we have so much to cover. I mean, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, but we have to glorify Srila Prabhupada. Yes, and that is our main function now. So we've done the Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada, and also when we do Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada, we are also doing it to our Guru Varga, our disciplic succession, Guru Parampara. So, I'm going to read a little bit, first of all, about Krishna's actual appearance in the house. In this chapter, it's titled The Appearance of Lord Krishna. But we're not going to cover the parts that are referring to the details of his being brought and all that. What we're going to do is we're going to read and hear about Krishna actually coming from the womb of Mother Yashoda. So here we go. Get ready. Listen very carefully. Okay? Do you have Ananda Vrindavan Champu in Russian language? That you can read it? Yes or no? No one found the Ananda Vrindavan Champu? All right, okay, just do what you can do. This is chapter 2, I think. Yeah, this is the very beginning of the book. Chapter 2, the appearance of Lord Krishna. Chapter 1 is the auspicious prayers and the description of Vrindavan. So there's just an incredible description, poetical description of Vrindavan, the forests of Vrindavan, the seasons of Vrindavan, the monsoon season, the autumn season, the Hemanta season, the dewy season, the spring season, the summer season, the 6 seasons of Vrindavan, the Yamuna River, the glories of Govardhan, and the glories of Nandishwar. So, now, chapter 2, the appearance of Lord Krishna. And I'm skipping over the subject matter that we covered yesterday on Janmashtami. But now we're going directly to the description of Krishna appearing in the home of Nanda Maharaj. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Nanda Yashoda ki jai, Shri Nanda Utsava ki jai, Jai Shri Krishna Kanaya ki jai, Jai Transcendental Nanda Utsav Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Lord Hari, who is bliss personified, he appeared in the home of Nanda Maharaj, the king of Vrindavan, for three reasons. For three reasons. First, to engage the self-satisfied sages, that means the Atmarama Munis, to engage them in bhakti. Second, to please the devotees by performing sweet transcendental pastimes. And third, to relieve the earth's burden caused by the demons. At the time of his majestic birth, Krishna employed his inconceivable powers to appear in a body of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Everyone in the maternity room swelled with joy upon seeing the Lord's exquisite transcendental form that looked like a creeper of beauty. Mother Yashoda resembled a lake. Mother Yashoda, she resembled a lake of what? Of spiritual ecstasy, in which a brilliant blue lotus of personified bliss had appeared. So Mother Yashoda is being likened to a beautiful lake of transcendental ecstasy, and in that lake a brilliant blue lotus, personified bliss, appeared. Who is that? Baby Krishna. So neither the wind nor the bees relished the fragrance of that blue lotus. That unborn lotus was never touched by the waves of the modes of nature. Even Lord Brahma could not see it, so what to speak of ordinary men? After Yashoda and her family members fell asleep in the maternity room, this is after Krishna's birth from the womb, so they all fell asleep in the maternity room. And after that, Hari cried beautifully like a newborn baby. His crying sounded like the Mahavakya Omkar, announcing the auspicious arrival of his pastimes. Omkar is a transcendental vibration that had previously emanated from the mouth of Lord Brahma. When the ladies of Vrindavan heard the sweet sound of Krishna's crying, then they woke up. The ladies heard the sound of Krishna's crying, and now they woke up in the maternity room. And what did they do? They ran as fast as they could to see the Lord. And with the mellow of their matchless overflowing affection, they anointed his body. The natural fragrance of Krishna's body smelled, guess what? What it smelled like? Just like milk. Yes. Just like musk. So after the ladies bathed Krishna in sweet ambrosia, then he looked cleansed and beautiful. Then they smeared his body with fragrant sandalwood pulp. And then the presiding deity of the house sent a champak flower resembling the flame of a lamp into the maternity room to worship that ornament of the three worlds. Then, with the strength of his little arms, delicate as the tender leaves of a tree, Krishna made all the lamps in the maternity room look like a garland of lotus flower buds. Now the ladies of Vrindavan saw baby Krishna. How did they see baby Krishna? The ladies of Vrindavan. They saw him like a blossoming flower made of the best of blue sapphires, or like a newly unfurled leaf of a tamal tree. And Krishna looked like a fresh rain cloud, decorated with the musk tilak of the goddess of fortune of the three worlds. Musk tilak. The ointment of the greatest auspiciousness lined his eyes. That's the kajal. The greatest auspiciousness. His presence filled the maternity room with good fortune. Although a mere baby, Krishna had a head full of curly hair. Yes, he did not come out without hair. Very beautiful curly hair. Yes. But to hide the unique signs on his hands, which were what? The elephant goad, fish, conch, etc. Then what did the Lord do to hide that? He folded his delicate petal-like fingers into his lotus palm, like this. At that time, Krishna laid on his back with his eyes closed. Mother Yashoda awoke amidst the joyous chattering of the elderly gopis. Now, Mother Yashoda is going to see Krishna for the first time. Are you ready for this description? Take this description deep into your memory, because I'm going to quiz you about it. And if you don't remember these details, you'll get very big punishment of flower petals being thrown at you unlimitedly, so that you say, please, no more, no more. Okay? So listen carefully. Mother Yashoda awoke amidst the joyous chattering of the elderly gopis. Then, leaning over the bed, she admired her gorgeous son. But upon noticing her own reflection on Krishna's body, then what? She noticed her own reflection on Krishna's body. Did you hear that? Is that a usual thing? No. But in this case, she noticed her own reflection on Krishna's body. And then what happened? Thinking that a witch had assumed her form to kidnap Krishna, Yashoda became bewildered, and she yelled, "Get out of here! You go away!" Yes, right from the first moment, Mother Yashoda is protecting Krishna. Spontaneously, she cried out to Nrsingadev. Everyone, Nrsingadev! Loudly! Nrsingadev! So she, Mother Yashoda, cried out to Nrsingadev to protect her precious son. Now beholding Krishna's tender face, Yashoda showered tears of affection that looked like an offering of a pearl necklace, like pearls. Yashoda saw Krishna's body as a mound of dark blue musk, softer than the butter churned from the milk ocean. What did she see Krishna's body as? A mound of what? Dark blue musk. And she saw his body softer than the butter that is churned from the milk ocean, overflowing with nectar. His charming body appeared like the foam of milk. But being dark blue in color, it seemed that the foam was full of musk juice. So much musk compared to Krishna. Now his color is compared to musk juice. Then admiring the supremely delicate form of her son, Yashoda worried about his safety, and she feared the touch of her body might hurt his tender body. As she leaned over the bed, Yashoda bathed Krishna with the milk dripping from her breasts. Now the elderly gopis instructed Yashoda how to caress the baby in her lap, because Yashoda had not had a baby before. So now all the elderly gopis are instructing her, okay, now you take the baby in your lap and you caress him like this. And very affectionately, you should push the nipple of your breast into Krishna's mouth to feed him. Now, due to Yashoda's intense love, personified bliss flowed from her breasts as steady streams of milk. And when milk sometimes spilled out of Krishna's bimba fruit red lips onto his cheeks, Mother Yashoda would wipe his face with the edge of her cloth. And after feeding her son, Yashoda gazed affectionately at him in wonder. She saw her child's body as made of dazzling blue sapphires. What did she see his body as? Dazzling blue what? Sapphires, jewels. She saw his mouth resembled a red, what kind of fruit? Bimba. She saw his hands and feet look like exquisite rubies, reddish rubies. Krishna's nails shone like precious gems. And in this way, Yashoda thought her child was completely made of jewels. Huh? That every part of him is made of jewels. Then she perceived that his naturally reddish lips looked like banduka flowers. His hands and feet resembled java flowers. His nails looked like mallika flowers. And Yashoda then thought, Krishna's whole body seems to be made of blue lotus flowers. He does not appear to be mine. So after thus deliberating within herself, Yashoda became stunned in amazement. The beautiful soft curly hairs on the right side of Krishna's chest, they resemble the tender stems of a lotus. Then seeing the mark of Srivatsa on his chest, Yashoda thought that it was breast milk that had previously spilled out of his mouth. Why? Because the Srivatsa looks whitish. So she thought, oh, that must be breast milk. So what did she do? She tried unsuccessfully to remove these milk stains with the edge of her cloth. And then struck with wonder, Yashoda thought that this must be a sign, the sign of a great personality. Then observing the sign of Lakshmi, which is what? A small golden line on the left side of Krishna's chest. Yashoda thought that a small yellow bird had made a nest amidst the leaves of a tamal tree. Could this be a streak of lightning resting on a rain cloud? Or could it be the golden streaks marking a black gold testing stone? Krishna's delicate leaf-like hands and feet, glowing pink like the rising sun, they look like the clusters of lotus flowers floating in the Yamuna. Now sometimes Yashoda saw the curly, dark blue locks of baby Krishna. She saw those dark blue locks as a swarm of what? Bumblebees surrounding his face. And intoxicated from drinking too much honey nectar, the bees just hovered in the sky. His thick, beautiful blue hair appeared like the dark night. The two lotus eyes of Krishna looked like a pair of blue lotus buds. His cheeks resembled two huge bubbles floating in a lake of liquefied blue sapphires. Liquefied blue sapphires. Krishna's attractive ears, they look like a pair of fresh unfurled leaves growing on a blue creeper. His ears, like a pair of fresh unfurled leaves growing on a blue creeper. The tip of Krishna's dark nose appeared like the sprout of a tree. And his nostrils looked like bubbles in the Yamuna River, the daughter of the sun god. His lips resembled a pair of red java flower buds. Krishna's chin rivaled a pair of ripe red jambu fruits. And seeing the extraordinary beauty of her son fulfilled the purpose of her eyes and submerged Yashoda in an ocean of bliss. That's Mother Yashoda's first darshan of Krishna. Now comes Nanda Maharaja's first darshan. Are you ready to hear about Nanda Maharaja's first darshan? Yes? Are you ready, or you're getting bored? Huh?
We're ready.
Are you eagerly waiting?
Yes.
Only I hear this side, nothing from that side at all. You know what that means? They're simply yogis, absorbed in Om, impersonal liberation. Yes. All right. Now the elderly Vrajbasi ladies, they addressed Vrajaraj Nanda. And they told him, "Oh, most fortunate one, you fathered a son." So previously, Nanda Maharaj had felt deeply aggrieved over his long-standing inability to obtain a son. His heart was like a small lake that had completely dried up during a long, hot summer. But when Nanda Maharaj heard of his son's birth, he felt as if the dry lake of his heart had been blessed with a sudden downpour of nectar. Then the gentle sound of Krishna's voice removed all his grief and lamentation, and now he bathed in the rains of bliss. He swam in the ocean of nectar, and he felt embraced by the joyful stream of the celestial Ganga. Now, eager to see his son, Nanda's body thrilled with astonishment and waves of ecstasy as he stood outside the maternity room. And because he had accumulated heaps of pious activities, it appeared that the king of Vrindavan was now shaking hands with the personification of pious deeds, anxiously standing in the background. Yogamaya induced Nanda Maharaj to enter the maternity room. Nanda Maharaj ki jai ho. Now, what did Nanda Maharaj do? He rushed in to see his son, the personified seed of condensed bliss. It seemed that all the auspiciousness of the three worlds now resided within Krishna, the original cause of everything. Then Nanda saw his son as a perfectly charming person. This is the first thing. He saw his son as a perfectly charming person. He also saw that all the auspiciousness of all the three worlds, it all resided within Krishna, the original cause of everything. So now the kajal around Krishna's eyes looked like lines of a black creeper of beauty. And as the very embodiment of Nanda's good fortune, Sri Krishna bloomed like a beautiful flower in a garden of desire trees. The aparajita flower is compared to the body of the Queen of Vrindavan, and her son is like the representative of the Upanishads that are compared to the fruit of the desire creepers. And by seeing his glorious son, Nanda felt that he had attained happiness, perfection, and the fulfillment of all his desires. Then meeting that embodiment of bliss overwhelmed Nanda with immeasurable satisfaction. He stood motionless, stunned. His hair stood erect. Tears flowed from his eyes. He appeared like a person carved in stone or a figure drawn in a painting. And for some time, Nanda Maharaj remained in this semi-conscious state, like a sleeping man about to awaken. Then Upananda, Sunanda, and the other relatives felt extremely joyful while observing the best of Brahmanas perform the rites of purification for Krishna's birth. To ensure his son's welfare, Nanda Maharaj donated newborn calves to each and every Brahmana, thus turning their homes into abodes of Surabhi cows. And these cows had gold and silver-plated horns and hoofs, and jeweled necklaces adorning their necks. And in addition, Vrajapati Nanda filled the courtyards of their homes with hills of gold, jewels, and sesame seeds. While Nanda distributed charity, the kamadhenus, the touchstones, and the desire trees lost their power to produce valuable items. And even the jewel-producing oceans lost their stock of jewels. And the goddess of fortune, the abode of lotuses, had but one lotus in her hand. The auspicious news of Krishna's wonderful appearance spread in all directions by the word of mouth, and delight danced in the hearts of Nanda, his brothers Upananda and Sunanda, and all the other gopas. Then the gopas brought many varieties of delicious dairy products such as milk, yogurt, butter, wet cheese, hard cheese, all in jewel-studded pots. And the pots were tied to the ends of bamboo poles with jute straps and carried on their shoulders. And bedecked with many precious jeweled ornaments, the gopas appeared very handsome. They dressed in beautiful yellow cloth, defeating the brilliance of lightning. They held staffs topped with gold and jewels in their lotus hands. And as a great ocean spreads its waves in all directions, the birth of Krishna filled the Brajvasis with unbounded bliss. Now the gopas and the gopis enjoyed a grand festival by happily eating and by splashing each other's bodies with a mixture of yogurt, butter, milk, and condensed milk. The society girls visiting Nanda Maharaj's house, they experienced more happiness than they had ever felt since their own birth. Their minds saturated with joy and satisfaction, hearing the delightful description of Krishna's birth, carried away the chariots of their minds and made them abandon all other duties. They became possessed with the desire to see Krishna. Then sparkling rubies hung from the necklaces adorning the society girls. Their diamond-studded armlets shone more beautifully than drops of crystal clear water. Their jewel-inlaid golden bangles boasted unparalleled elegance. So in this way, there's a long description. That's the poetry of Kavi Karnapur. He just one analogy after another, another simile, another analogy. Is so masterful poetry. So I'm coming to the end here now. The joy of Krishna's birth celebration taxed the drains of Nanda's capital city as they swelled to the brim with milk, yogurt, and other auspicious liquids. And soon, rivers of this nectar flooded the streets of the town and permeated the entire atmosphere with a sweet fragrance. Then disguising themselves as birds, who came? The demigods. They descended to Vrajapur to happily drink the flood of nectar. And the Brajbasis decorated their cows with gold and jeweled ornaments. Then in great excitement they smeared them with oil, with fresh butter, turmeric paste, and beholding Krishna in their hearts, these fortunate cows look like the essence of the earth's auspiciousness. The whole world resounded with their jubilant bellowing, and absorbed in the ecstasy of Krishna's birth, they forgot about eating and drinking the cows. They forgot to eat and drink. That's pretty unusual for cows, isn't it? So now the last paragraph. The festival drowned the gopis in an ocean of joy. And after offering oil, vermilion, garlands, and utensils in charity to all the assembled gopis, Rohini, the wife of Vasudeva, asked them to bless Krishna. Then upon completion of the sacrifice, Upananda and the other relatives felt constant happiness while taking their baths. Then keeping the king of Vrindavan in the front, Nanda's relatives offered opulent cloth, jeweled ornaments, tambul, garlands, and sandalwood pulp to all the guests. And then they humbly requested all in attendance to bless that wonderfully auspicious boy who had just appeared in Vrindavan. Jai Nandotsava ki jai, Krishna Janmastami ki jai, Jai Nanda Nandan Shri Krishna ki jai, Yashoda Nandan Shri Krishna ki jai, Dauji Bhaiya ki jai, Krishna Kanaiya ki jai, Gaur Premanande. So how's that on Nandotsava day? Huh? Is that not a flood of nectar? Yes. Yes, so guess who came on this day? Who came to this world on this day? Srila Prabhupada. You know, Krishna appeared, right? Krishna Janmastami. And in the Vedic culture, it's the custom of the person whose birthday it is to give in charity. Now, of course, babies can't stand up and start distributing charity. You know? But actually, Krishna gave the greatest gift. on Nandotsava Day by manifesting Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, born as Abhay Charan Day in Kolkata, to Gaur Mohan Day, a pure devotee of Krishna. Yes. And Prabhupada writes that in his introduction to the Krishna book. He dedicates it to his father Gaur Mohan Day, a pure devotee of Krishna, who also arranged for him to learn mridanga, for me to learn mridanga, Prabhupada is saying, in my childhood, and to solidify all of the impressions which later would be completely permeating my heart from my eternal Father, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. Prabhupada dedicates. So, Srila Prabhupada, he saved the world. No one else can say that. Well, Prabhupada literally saved the world. And you'll find lots of purports of Prabhupada where he says, because now the whole world is chanting Hare Krishna, now the world has become saved. It's in the process. Even yesterday I was reading an article written by Srila Prabhupada when he was in household life, and it was submitted to the Gaudiya Patrika. Yeah? And he was talking about nuclear war. Back then, that was a big thing, because the Cold War was going on. So the amazing article by Srila Prabhupada. And he's talking about the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, and how that Brahmastra was fired by Ashwatthama without knowing how to withdraw it. He didn't know the mantras for that, which is extremely irresponsible for a Kshatriya. Extremely. And so what happened was, when that Brahmastra weapon was thrown, it was like an atomic explosion, and the bodies of everyone was being burned and like this. Of course, Prabhupada is describing this was much more subtle than these nuclear weapons, but nevertheless everyone was feeling this. And then Arjuna turned to Krishna, "What shall we do?" And Krishna said, "Arjuna, you are well versed in all of the mantras of Astras, and you know very, very well how to also fire another Brahmastra weapon with even superior power and strength than that one. And then you also know how to combine them together and then to withdraw both of them with your mantras. Do it." And then Arjuna did that. But in the meantime, Krishna expanded to protect the embryo in the womb. Yes. And Maharaj Parikshit had darshan of Krishna when he was in the womb. And he never forgot that. How can you forget? So, Srila Prabhupada says that in the same way that Arjuna was able to withdraw all that danger and all of that calamity, in the same way, with very subtle mantras, this Krishna consciousness movement is withdrawing all the threats and all of the grave circumstances of the practically inevitable use of these very powerful weapons which can destroy everything. And what is that? The Hare Krishna mantra, Prabhupada said. Now that this mantra is being chanted all over the world, it is affecting all of these tendencies, not just the gross bombs, but the tendency to use them. So we will see what happens. So I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams. Can't even express how many. Koti is not enough. I'd have to have the life of Brahma to do continuous non-stop Dandavat pranams to my Srila Prabhupada. But I'm offering from the core of my heart my Shastanga Dandavat Pranams to his divine lotus feet, and praying for his causeless mercy, that one day we can have even one tiny iota of the Guru Nishta and the pure-hearted chanting that Srila Prabhupada possessed. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of my Siksha Gurus, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, to all my Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So whenever this day comes, and also the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, I always think about the struggles that he underwent for years to try to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master, to try to go to the Western countries and preach this message. How he prepared for years, practicing his writing in English language, starting Back to Godhead magazine, all through his household years, he was pursuing this instruction of his spiritual master. And Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj was reading his katha for our Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying that in later years, because he had actually met our Srila Prabhupada, and he said that our Srila Prabhupada sometimes, as Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, when he was living in Vrindavan, he would lament. He would condemn himself. Why? He said, in my earlier years, while I was still absorbed in household life, and I had so many responsibilities, business and so forth, I could not carry out the mission of my Guru Maharaj. But now I am old, and still I have not fulfilled the mission of my Guru Maharaj. So until I fulfill the mission of my Guru Maharaj, I will not consider myself to be a real disciple. He spoke like that. He would condemn himself. So we cannot even imagine this determination, this incredible Guru Nishta and determination, that through every single trial, every obstacle, every circumstance, Srila Prabhupada just kept going. Do you know that when he was printing his, his Back to Godhead magazine and so forth, he would go back and forth from Vrindavan to the printers in Delhi. And he would not have enough money to pay the printers. So in the middle of the hottest part of the day, in the summertime, Srila Prabhupada would go out to try and beg and do madhukari. So there's a mutt which is under the auspices of Srila Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj in, what's it called? Something gully in Delhi. So Srila R. Prabhupada was invited by him to take refuge there whenever he was in Delhi. And one disciple of, I'm not sure who, it's in Srila Bharati Maharaj's Katha. One of the godbrothers, I think, of Srila Bharati Maharaj saw our Prabhupada, and he was getting ready to go out into the hot sun. And then he said, Maharaj, what are you doing? You are elderly person, and this very intense heat, it can very negatively affect elderly persons. You can get sunstroke and everything. So, why are you going in the middle of the day? Then Prabhupada said, I must go. There is one gentleman at such and such place who promised to give a 5 rupee donation. Now in those days, 5 rupees was something, So then that devotee told to him, he said, please don't go, I will give you 10 rupees. You stay here. So, Srila Prabhupada, the difficulties that he underwent, and how he was praying when he finally came and lived for the final 3 years. Before he went to the West, he lived in the Radha Damodar temple, and before that he lived in Chippy Gully or someplace like that in Vrindavan. So then Srila Prabhupada Prabhu, please. Is it going to continue like that? No? We have to shut off the speaker. Yeah, shut off the sound. So we know that Srila Prabhupada, he came to the conclusion that what he must do in order to preach message of Mahaprabhu, and it was also the order of his Guru Maharaj, that he should print books. So Srila Prabhupada, what did he do? He armed himself by beginning the translation of the Grantha Raj of all Granthas, the king of all Granthas, Srimad Bhagavatam. So he began to translate. And we can't even imagine the circumstances. It is very, very... if you ever, used any typewriters from that era, it was not very easy to type on those. And Prabhupada had to type one finger typing, But he sat there, and thousands, tens of thousands of words came from his transcendental inspiration onto the pages. And how difficult was it to even transform that into books? Such a tedious process in those days, and taking photo of it, and then the printing press, the whole thing, the binding. And how did Prabhupada finance it? He applied to the government of India for a ration. They had a certain amount of rationing of paper, right? So he said, okay, I will try to get this paper. So if you ever see Prabhupada's original Bhagavatams, the quality of the paper, very crude, very crude. And the binding is also not so good. Not the best. I mean, it wasn't the worst also, but not so good. And then Srila Prabhupada even designed the cover, the jacket cover. And what did he depict on the jacket cover? Goloka Vrindavan. The whole description of the spiritual world, with all the Vaikuntha planets, and the lotus flower-shaped Goloka Vrindavan planet at the topmost position. And inside of the whorl of the lotus of the Goloka Vrindavan, on one side is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and on the other side is Radha and Krishna. Braj. So, and then he also he actually described this cover with number 1, number 2, number 3, and he had that put next to it by the artists. Then he showed the Vaikuntha planets. Then he showed in the bottom left-hand corner a dark area. And in there you see Mahavishnu lying down. And then you see the universe, one of the expanded universe, and in that one universe, Garbhodakshai Vishnu lying down and the lotus coming and Brahma taking birth there. Like that. So Prabhupada depicted the actual creation. Why? Because the Srimad Bhagavatam describes the creation in detail. No other Shastra, no other literature describes like Srimad Bhagavatam. And even the names of the different cantos are called the creation, the sub-creation, like this. So Srila Prabhupada completed that in a 3-year period. And during that time that he lived at the Radha Damodar temple, do you know that in the book that was luckily made by Mula Prakriti Didi and completed by Gopavindapal Prabhu after she departed from cancer, so she interviewed different individuals who lived there, some of the family members of the Radha Damodar Goswami family, like that. And there was one in particular who told of his witnessing in the middle of the night. In those days it was nothing like it is now. It was just an open courtyard. There wasn't even a fence or a wall or anything. And then there were a few houses, and then also on the inside part, then there was some other construction where the family members would live in rooms. So this particular person, when he was young, he was there when Prabhupada was living there. And he said, in the middle of the night, one night, he woke up because he heard this crying. He heard this intense crying. And he went and looked down from where he was in the house, and there he saw, in the courtyard in front of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi and his Bhajan Kutir, he saw the figure in some moonlight of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj with a broom in his hand, and he's sweeping in front of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi, in front of Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir. And he's crying out in a desperate tone, "Hey Rupa, how will I do it? How will I do it? You have to give your mercy. Hey Jiva, how will I do it? You have to give your mercy." And crying and weeping like this. And then that person told that he didn't do it just one time. He was doing that consistently. How he was praying. So, we all know, we've heard the story of Srila Prabhupada finally being able to get the passage to cross the ocean to go to New York. Somehow or other Krishna arranged that he had a sponsor in America, and then Krishna arranged that there in New York City there was one Dr. Mishra, and like that. So Krishna arranged. But while Prabhupada was crossing the oceans, and his entire life was now dedicated to this, he was ready to die doing this. And almost he died on the ship. Why? Because when they came through the Arabian Sea, they came up from the southern tip of India, and they now entered into that area, the Arabian Sea, just before the Suez Canal. And in that sea, there were like 10 days of extremely high waves. Storm and waves and storm and waves. Prabhupada had a heart condition already by that time. And that heaving of the boat and the waves was causing incredible pain in Prabhupada's heart area. And he literally had a heart attack. He had 2 heart attacks. He kept a diary on the Jaladuta, which I'm going to read some passages from. He kept a diary, but on those days, there was just a line across the day. There was 1 page for each day. Just line. And at the end of 8 days, then finally he wrote, you can see in his handwriting, shaky, "Have just now passed through a very great difficulty. But somehow Lord Krishna desired that I should survive." He didn't eat or drink anything practically for that entire 8 days. So, so Prabhupada also told later on, he didn't write this, he told later on to the devotees, his disciples, that when he was in that condition, toward the end of that turmoil, Krishna appeared in a vision to him. And Krishna appeared in a boat which was pulling the Jaladuta from the front side. And inside of the boat were who? Krishna's 10 incarnations. And they were all rowing the boat. And Krishna was telling to Prabhupada, "Oh Abai, do not be afraid, Abai, do not be afraid." So, Prabhupada made it through that difficult test. He described in his diary how he was finally able to cook some simple khichdi and to take prasad. So it took a few days for him to recover from that. And finally the boat came through that difficult period, went through the Suez Canal, came into the Mediterranean Sea, and now was about to cross the Gibraltar Strait, where there's the big rock of Gibraltar. That's a very thin opening from North Africa on one side and Europe on the other side. And through that strait, then all the ships have to pass in order to go into the Mediterranean or to come out. So in those days, that was the shortest way to come from India, through the Suez Canal, because otherwise the only way they could sail was to go all the way around the southern tip of Africa and then come all the way up, which is a few thousand more miles of travel. So anyway, Prabhupada now saw the Atlantic. My god sister, she was married to Mangalananda. There's a beautiful song that she sings. It's on YouTube. She left her body some years ago. She used to sing with Mangalananda, but she composed this song, and the instrumentation all did on piano and everything, and she sang so heartfully. It's called O Atlantic, and you'll have to hear it. How beautifully she's calling out to the Atlantic Ocean, "Oh, bring our Prabhupada to us, oh, bring our Prabhupada to us." So, Prabhupada was crossing the Atlantic, and the captain would speak with him, and the captain's wife was also on the boat. And they said to Prabhupada, they said, "We've never seen, in all my years of crossing back and forth on the Atlantic Ocean, we've never seen such a calm Atlantic Ocean. Oh, Swami ji, you should come back with us also, because you're here, that's why the ocean is calm." But they didn't know about what Prabhupada went through. And certainly Krishna arranged so that, because he could not have taken any more of that. So they crossed over. And while Prabhupada was on the ship, Prabhupada wrote his epic prayer. What's it called? Prayer to the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna Tava Punya Habe Bhai. And he's praying to Krishna, because Krishna always likes that Radharani will be pleased with him. Why? Because then Radharani will bestow upon him all of her mercy. So Prabhupada is talking to Krishna, and he's saying that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was actually giving the inner meaning of that first refrain, the refrain of that song. So he says, "Krishna tava punya habe bhai, e punya koribe jabe, Radharani Kushi Habe. What is it? Toma Ati Dhruva Tomatai. I say this to you, O Krishna, very strongly, Dhruva. I'm saying this to you very seriously, Krishna, that my spiritual master is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He is the topmost of all the Mahant Gurus. And he is the most intimate servitor of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So I am pleading with you, O Krishna, that let's make a deal. You help me to serve my spiritual master, and guess what you'll get in return? Radharani Kushi Habe. Radharani will be very pleased with you. Yes. And then he begins to describe how Sri Siddhanta Saraswati, let me find, I'll read it. Okay. What? No. This is from the, I wish I did, but this is from, the folio, Prabhupada's folio. Wait, okay. Go back. No, I have it. I looked it up before the class. So, prayer unto the lotus feet of Krishna. And this is written on September 13th, 1965, before he reached Boston Harbor. Krishna taba punya habe bai, e punya koribe jabe radharani kushi habe, druvayati boli tomatai. I emphatically say to you, O brothers. See, they translated it wrong. You have that? Yeah, but I don't have the internet here. You're going to find it, or you have it already?
It's also in the songbook.
It's in the songbook that is on the Bhakti base. It's in there. Okay. Okay, here it is. All right, so here's the real meaning of this verse. Oh my dear friend Krishna, good fortune will be yours. Srimati Radharani will be pleased with you when you perform this supremely virtuous act, which I will now convey. This I declare to you with utter conviction. Okay? So this is the refrain of the song. And you just heard, like the ISKCON, they said, oh brothers. It's like absurd. It doesn't even make any sense, you know? Yeah. So, this I declare to you with utter conviction, O Krishna, my dear friend. Good fortune will be yours. Srimati Radharani will be pleased with you. And when you perform this supremely virtuous act, virtuous means punya, which I will now convey. This I declare to you with utter conviction. Dhruva ati boli tomatai. So now he begins to glorify his Guru Maharaj. So if anybody says that there's a problem, that he's known as Prabhupada, they don't know anything about his mood. Because right here, after his deathly heart attack, what is he thinking about? Who is he glorifying? Shri Siddhanta Saraswati. So Shri Siddhanta Saraswati, Sachi Sutta Priya Ati, Krishna Sevai Jar Tulyanai, Se Mohant Guru Jagater Madhye Uru, Krishna Bhakti De Tai Tai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is extremely dear to the son of Mother Sachi. Sachi Sutta Priya Ati. And also to Gaur Sundar, the son of Mother Sachi. And Krishna Sevai Jar Tulyanai. His service to Krishna is unequaled. Se Mohant Guru Jagater Madhye Uru. He is what? He is the Mahant Guru. He is that most exalted Guru, the most excellent and magnanimous personality. Jagater Madhye Uru, Krishna Bhakti De Tai Tai. He is that magnanimous personality in the universe who distributes Krishna Bhakti to all places throughout the world. Tar Itcha Balavan Paschat Yete Tan Tan. His intense desire is that the name of Sri Gauranga be spread throughout Western countries, and that in all the cities, the towns and villages on earth, Hoi Jati Gaurangera Nam, the name of Gauranga will be spread. Pritivite Nagaradi Asamudra Nada Nadi Sakale Loi Krishna Nam. That is his intense desire, that the name of Krishna will be spread to all the towns, the cities, the villages on earth, and extending to all the seas, the rivers and streams, and everyone will chant Shri Krishna Nam. Tahale Ananda Hoy, Tabe Hoy, Digvijay, Chaitanyara Kripa Atishai. Transcendental bliss will then arise, and all directions will be conquered by the profuse mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All those who are wicked, having been influenced by Maya and having been distressed within this world, Maya Dushta Jato Duki Jagate Sabai Suki, they'll all become happy. They're all duki. Why? Because they're completely influenced Maya Dushta, by Maya, the illusory energy. So when this happens, Tahale Ananda Hoy, Tabe Hoy Digvijay, in all directions transcendental bliss will come throughout the world, and the profuse mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be distributed, and then all the miserable, sinful, living entities who have been completely absorbed by Maya and who are very, very in great distress, Jato Duki, then Jagate Sabai Sukhi. The whole world will become Sukhi, happy. And then, when that happens, Vaishnaver Itcha Purna Hoy. The Vaishnava's desires will thus be fulfilled, that everyone becomes happy from the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Se karja jay koribare, agya jadi dile more, jogya nahi ati din hin, O Krishna. Although I have been ordered to accomplish this mission, I possess no qualification to do it. being very fallen, incapable. See, Prabhupada, he's the epitome of humility. And he's saying, Agya Jadi, Dila More, he has given his order to me, yes, to accomplish this mission. But Jogya Nahi Ati Dinhin, I possess no qualification to do it, being so fallen and incapable. Tai say, Tomar Kripa, O Krishna, Tai say Tomar Kripa Magi Techi Anurupa. O Krishna, since you are Sabar Praveen, you are the wisest personality of all. And I now beg for your mercy so that I may become worthy. Tomar se Shakti Pele, Guru Seva Vastu Mile, Jivan Sartak Jadi Hoy. Se Seva Pele, Tahole Sukhi Hole, Tava Sangha Bhagyate Miloy. If by receiving your potency, Shakti Pele, if you give your Shakti, Guru Seva Vastu Mile, then I may obtain the treasured object of Seva, service to Sri Guru, and then Jivan Sartak Jadi Hoy, my life becomes successful. Say Seva Pele, Tahole Sukhi Hole. And I will become very joyful at that time, having obtained the service to Sri Guru. And Tava Sangha Bhagyate Miloy. And then, by very great good fortune, I will attain your association, O Krishna. Now he quotes the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 9th chapter, verse 28, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe, kama bikamam anuya prapatan prasangat, kritvat masat surarshina bhagavan grihita, soham katam nuvishraje tava britya seva. So here, Prahlad Maharaj is expressing the exact mood that Srila Prabhupada is feeling. So Prabhupada quoted Prahlad Maharaj, who's talking about himself. Prahlad Maharaj in this verse is talking about himself, and he's talking about how his spiritual master Narada Muni saved him. So how can he ever leave the service of his spiritual master? So here's the translation of that verse. Thus, by associating with material desires, one after another, because he's born in a demon family. So although he's a pure devotee, but he's feeling himself to be very fallen. And he's saying, I was associating with material desires, one after another, and I was following the general populace by falling into a blind well full of snakes. But my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, then, the great sage Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple, and he instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position similar to his own. So how could I ever leave the service of your servant? Now, Prabhupada is talking about his own relationship with Krishna. Tumi mor chirasati, bulia mayar lati, kayachi janma janmantare. Aji puna e sujog jadi hoy joga jog tabe pari tuhe milibare. O Krishna, you are my eternal companion. Having forgotten you, I have suffered the kick of Maya, lifetime after lifetime. And now I have the opportunity to serve you once more. If I can receive a connection with you, then I will be able to actually meet with you. Tomar milane bai, abar se sukkapai, gocharane guri din bor. Kato vane chuta chuti vane kai luta puti, se din kabe habe mor. In your company, my dear friend, I will experience that same joy once again. I will wander all day long, tending the cows. I will run throughout the many forests, and I will roll on the ground. Oh, when will that day be mine? This particular verse was greatly misunderstood by certain individuals, thinking that this confirms that Srila Prabhupada is in Sakya-ras. But what did Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj say about this? You know? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he only mentioned that some mood is there, like, because he's talking about wandering all day tending the cows and running throughout the many forests and rolling on the ground. They actually mistook. I remember when we were in Puri, we were looking up the Lutaputi. Lutaputi cow. Right. And that verb, Lutaputi cow, they translated as stealing each other's lunches, like the cowherd boys, they steal each other's lunches. No. But what does it actually mean? Rolling on the ground. Yes. And Gurudev also commented about this verse. He said, all of the moods of the different rasas are within Gopi Bhav. They're all within Gopi Bhav. They're contained within. And sometimes the gopis also roll on the ground. Sometimes they're chasing after the cows. Every mood is there. So Srila Prabhupada, in his heart of hearts, he's relishing this vision of Krishna. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj also told that Nityananda Shakti was now in him. And because of Nityananda Prabhu, some moods like Nityananda Sakya-ras came out. Yes. Because certainly Srila Prabhupada is not going to be openly expressing in anything written as he's on the way to the Western countries about conjugal love. No, that's later, much later. We can speak a long time about that. So now, here's the final shloka. Srila Prabhupada ends his song. Aji se subidane tomar smarana bhelo baro asha dakilam thai ami tomar nitya das thai kori eta ash tumi bina anya gati nai tumi bina anya gati nai. Aji se subidane tomar smarana belo. Today, O Krishna, that remembrance of you came to me spontaneously. Boro asha dakilam tai, and then feeling boro asha, very great hope. Very great hope. I called out to you, Krishna. Ami tomar nitya das. Only because I am your eternal servant do I have so much longing. Ami tomar nitya das tai kori eta ash. Tumi bina anya gati nai. And I have no refuge other than you. Gaur Premanande. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada, we can't even understand how he struggled for a whole year, persevered, how Krishna made it happen. How Krishna made it happen. This little tiny storefront. You know, other gurus, swamis, they were all invited. They had nice apartments and this and that in Manhattan. But Prabhupada was staying, he said, exactly like a vagrant beggar, moving from one place to another through the winter in New York. And gradually, people started to come. Gradually. It was the perfect setting, it was the perfect time. Krishna had arranged everything, the whole mood, the consciousness of the people at that time, the social conditions, everything was all arranged by Krishna. So only the pure devotee had to come into that and speak and chant the transcendental sound vibration, and then the jiva's hearts would be changed and purified. And that's exactly what happened. It is a miracle. And whenever Gurudev used to talk about Prabhupada, what he had accomplished, he said he did so many miracles. Yes. Prabhupada, Gurudev was very, he liked to talk this particular line. Because during that time in America, there was the hippie movement. They called it the hippie movement. You know, long hair, beads, bare feet, LSD, marijuana, and you know, like this. But the thing about them, which Prabhupada actually told, the good quality that these hippies had, is that they were renounced. Although it was kind of artificial renunciation, but they were renounced. Like, we're giving up, you know. What is it? Turn on, tune in, drop out. Drop out of society. And that was the mood. So it was like Krishna arranged it. And you know, I was just thinking this morning how these epic black and white first films that are on YouTube, where this couple who were getting their degree in movie making, they decided to come to this Hare Krishna temple and to do a photojournalistic report, video report, and they're interviewing the devotees, and some of them were like, they've been there since the previous night. Like they're asking each for how long have you been? Oh, I've been here 2 weeks. Oh, I've been here a month. Oh, I've been here a couple of months. The oldest one was like a couple of months. And you know, Achyutananda's there, Kirtananda's there. Gargamuni's lying down on the floor, you know, and in a relaxed way, saying, yeah, Prabhupada's saying that we can all become gopis. And then Kirtanananda chimes in, you know, no, that is not exactly what Swamiji has said, you know. That is a very, very high thing, you know. But they're talking like as if they're accomplished pundits already, you know. So anyway, how it happened, it's just, I'll never ever become tired of hearing these stories, these memories of the devotees who were there, how Prabhupada dealt with everyone, and especially Shama Sundar's memories. They are the best, bar none. Because he traveled also as Prabhupada's first secretary for a few years. How he glorifies Prabhupada. And in the books that he wrote, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami, 3 volumes. Oh, this is one of the most blissful things is to read all these books written by the devotees who were personally with Srila Prabhupada. So, anyway, the name of the ship. What was the name that Krishna arranged that this big, huge steamship from Scindia Navigation Company, what was the name on the ship? Jaladuta. Oh, what does that mean? Jaladuta. You know. What? Duta. What is a duta? Messenger. Duta means messenger, and Jal means on the water. Messenger on the water. I mean, could there have been a better title of that ship than that name? Huh? Jaladuta. The messenger on the water. And what was the message? It was the greatest message that's ever been brought across the oceans. Ever. In this day of Brahma. In this day of Brahma, that's the greatest message that has ever been brought across the oceans. In this Danya Kali Yuga. And it was brought by this person, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who became Prabhupada to all of his disciples. It was brought by him. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarane. Delivering the Western worlds that are filled with impersonalism and voidism. By doing what? Gauravani Pracharane. Our Gurudev made a very big deal out of this. What is Gauravani? Why he's telling that? So in this day of Brahma, this is the first time that a messenger came across the ocean with this message. The message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the mission of Mahaprabhu. And the Harinam Sankirtan movement. So Srila Prabhupada finally managed at the end of like 11 months of very intensive struggling, 10 or 11 months. He had some persons, individuals, and one of them was Mukunda, Michael Grant. And he was a musician, and he had like a certain kind of personality where he really could schmooze very nicely with people. So he got some of his friends to arrange for this storefront to be rented, right? And then for Prabhupada to be moved from a few blocks away into that storefront. So on the day when they were to move into the storefront, there was a whole trail of devotees to be, friends, and they were carrying all of Prabhupada's things in this line of people. And they moved Prabhupada not into the storefront, but into the apartment which is in the rear. And I've gone there only one time with Srila Gurudev on his first tour. Yeah, and there's a small courtyard, not very big, and then there's I think it's 2-story small apartment building behind there. And up the stairs is Prabhupada's first dwelling place. And that's where Shamarani, they had 2 rooms. It had the bedroom, which Prabhupada, he put his trunk there, and that was his desk, And when Shamarani came, then Shamarani started painting, and Prabhupada just set her up right there in the other room out front of that. And that was where the shower or bath was. So all the people who were like crashing in the Swami's storefront, then they had to go out, to use there was a toilet in the storefront, but not a shower to bathe. So they would come up there. But Prabhupada had to share that with them. But it went on. They lived happily, Just like our Gurudev used to say, when Swamiji came to Mathura, and he was renting a small room near the Yamuna, right? right near to the Ghat, what's it called? Yeah, Vishram Ghat. And one of the brahmacharis had gone to get water nearby there and bring it back to the temple. And he saw this Vaishnava, and he said, you know, his namaskar to Prabhupada. And then that brahmachari came back to the temple and said to Srila Narayan Maharaj, "Oh, there's a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur staying in a room near the Yamuna." So then Gurudev, he came with two other brahmacharis. I don't think Gurudev knew exactly who he was. Maybe that brahmachari did tell him, you know, Abai Charanaravinda Prabhu, like that. Gurudev came there, came straight to the door, knocked on the door, opened the door. "Prabhu, what are you doing here?" No. You cannot stay here. You have to come and live with us in the temple." And Prabhupada was reluctant. No, I don't want to cause any injury. "No, you have to. You have to come." Brahmacharis, take his things. By force, he took him back to the temple. And then when Gurudev tells that story, then he says, "And we lived together," because Keshavji Gaudiya Math at that time, it was only like 2 rooms. 2 rooms in the temple room. And they had 1 bathroom. And I think a small kitchen. Yeah, a small kitchen, 2 rooms, and that. And Srila Gurudev said, I gave him one of those rooms. And they lived for many months together. And Gurudev said, it was such happy time. Even though very simple, no anything, but so happy. And their association, how they lived together so sweetly. So we can't even imagine how these 2 perfected personalities have this relationship. Yes. Gurudev later, he told, he's my Siksha Guru, he's my Priya Bandhu also, my very, very dear, intimate friend. And Gurudev would describe how our Srila Prabhupada would go into the temple room and play harmonium and weep and sing Gauranga Bolite Habe. He would witness how Prabhupada would preach in the English language to the local people who would come. They were very interested to hear from him. And so this went on for many months until Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj came there. And then came the Vishwarup Mahotsav day. Prior to that day, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj met with our Prabhupada, and Srila Narayan Maharaj told his Gurudev, please convince him, he must take sannyas. He's been given this great order by his Guru Maharaj, but he cannot do it unless he takes sannyas. Please convince him. So they had their discussion. How wonderful it would be to be a fly on the wall, to have witnessed that discussion between these 2 personalities. So our Prabhupada became convinced, and there was another godbrother who was 92 years old. His name was Sanatan Prabhu. He was a businessman practically his whole life, and now he had left his family, and he was just wearing white and residing in the mutt. And so that Muni Maharaj, he became Muni Maharaj. Then Prabhupada was also there, and they were having their discussion, the 3-way discussion. So finally, to seal the deal, our Prabhupada said, okay, if Sanatan Prabhu takes sannyas, then I'll also take sannyas. So he pulled him into it also. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada and, Srila Narayan Maharaj he was the priest. He was the person who did the yajna. He was the person who arranged the vesh and showed Prabhupada how to wear door kopin, how to wear the sannyas vesh, everything. Yeah, he also made and wrapped his danda, So we see that classic photo of all time where Param Gurudev is sitting in a chair, and on both sides are the two new sannyasis, Bhaktivedanta Muni, Bhaktivedanta Swami. And look at Prabhupada's eyes in that photo. Oh ho ho. Prabhupada can't hide it. He's on fire. He's on fire. Yes, Krishna made this happen. So, and it's true. Gurudev, what he said, if Prabhupada would not have taken sannyas, he could not have done this. So as all Krishna's arrangement, Param Gurudev, his most intimate friend, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj and our Prabhupada were intimate friends. You know, and when we came to that storefront with Gurudev in 96, when we came there in 96, then this was after visiting the park, Tompkins Square Park. Then we came there. We all drove there. So, you know, there was a few speakers. Gurudev asked a couple of senior Prabhupada disciples from ISKCON, who were also there, very nice devotees, to also speak something. And also this Nrsinga Maharaj was also there. He spoke something. Then Gurudev asked Shamarani Didi to speak something. And then Gurudev spoke. You have to watch that video. Gurudev becomes completely overwhelmed. He's remembering, and he says, like movie reels moving before my eyes. All these memories that he's having about our Prabhupada. And then he has to wipe his eyes, and then he begins to talk about how he has realized one thing. Gurudev said, I have realized that Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj and my Guru Maharaj are on the same platform. Then Gurudev began to address a doubt and a total misconception which is harbored in, you know, a certain institution. That they say, well, Srila Prabhupada, yeah, okay, he took sannyas because you have to take sannyas from another sannyasi, so he took sannyas from his god brother like that, but they don't attribute any importance to that. They say, oh, sannyas is just a formality. They say that. Sannyas is just a formality. He could have taken from this person or that person. They give some kind of like official respect to Prabhupada's sannyas guru. But they know nothing about him. Nothing. Zero. They know about him. They know nothing about Prabhupada's relationship with him. Nothing they know. And so therefore they make this foolish statement. Oh, sannyas is just a formality. Like that. So Gurudev addressed this. He confronted it. He said, there's some persons who say like this, that sannyas is just a formality. But those who say that, they don't know anything. Then Gurudev said, sannyas is for Gopi Bhav. The sannyas mantra is for Gopi Bhav. So in this way, Srila Gurudev was highlighting that there is a very deep significance. And one time when we were with Gurudev in Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Math, I think it was on Prabhupada's disappearance day, perhaps during Kartik. You know, and Gurudev was explaining, he said, why did your Guru Maharaj take sannyas from my Gurudev, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and not from Pujapad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj? Because Gurudev knew that he also had a very, very deep relationship with Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And then because Gurudev was asking us, so I put forward something that I had heard, that Srila Sridhar Maharaj had told to our Prabhupada that it's better that you don't directly take sannyas from me, because I lived in your house, very intimate to your family members for so many years, coming and going. So, like that. So I mentioned that to Gurudev. He says, no, that is not the reason. And then Gurudev said something that we heard from him pretty much like for the first time, but it was in the context of what is the importance that he took sannyas from my Guru Maharaj, from Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. What is the importance? He said, because they were bosom friends. So now, Pran Kishore was there, Tirthapada, others who were also, we were all together as Prabhupada's disciples, and then Srila Sridhar Maharaj's disciples, and then Gurudev. So when Gurudev said that, we kind of looked at each other. Because Gurudev is saying that the reason why he took from my Guru Maharaj and not from Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj is because he and my Guru Maharaj were bosom friends. So we thought to ourselves, of course, he was also a bosom friend with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. But we didn't know anything about the nature of their relationship. But Gurudev witnessed everything. Gurudev saw it all. And then we began to talk about it later. Also, Vaikanas Maharaj was there when he was named Janardhan at that time. And then we began to contemplate, Gurudev saw, he witnessed the relationship between our Prabhupada and him many, many times. And then we began to surmise, actually, the nature of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj was very kind of, in some ways, withdrawing. He himself said that about himself, that he would like to withdraw, into the background. He says, I'm a backward pushing man like this. And we saw that in him. He's the topmost Siddhanta Acharya, but that's his nature, And he would talk about his nature and how he had a somewhat difficult time to mix together his nature with the orders of his Guru Maharaj for the outward explosive preaching and all of that, But anyway, we came to understand that what Gurudev was telling was absolutely the truth. Because when they would come to see Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada considered him his Siksha Guru. And when he came to the Radha Damodar temple and lived in that room, this was also in Mula Prakriti's book, that he had a photo of him on his own little altar there. And the person asked him, who is that other person, that other picture besides your Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? He said, that's my godbrother, my Siksha Guru, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. So, we cannot even imagine, but their natures, and there's also the anugatya, in spiritual life, anugatya is everything actually. In the higher stages, in the higher realms, anugatya is everything. It's everything. So then Gurudev, in the little, very short speech that he gave on that day when he was asking us, he said he had to take from my Guru Maharaj because it is coming down from there. Very cryptic way in which Gurudev said. Why? Because there is an anugatya. Just like there's an anugatya between Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari and so forth. But he mentioned this, we read into it, we understood what he was saying. He said he had to take from my Guru Maharaj because it's coming down from there. So what kind of personalities these were? And who is Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj? Lion! Guru! Lion! fearless, absolutely ready at any moment. What is it? Kriti? What? No. Kriti Ratna, yeah. Kriti Ratna. The jewel of those who perform amazing activities. Kriti Ratna. And Acharya Keshari. Lion Acharya. So he's the one that restarted the Gaudiya Math preaching after everything stopped. And who was with him when he formed his new institution, Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti? Bhaktivedanta, at that time Abhay Charanaravinda Prabhu. He was one of the 3 founding members. Yeah. So in this way, there's so much to tell. Yes, so much to tell. But how beautiful, how wonderful Srila Prabhupada's nature, his qualities, his activities, his relationships, everything. So, how can we express our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada? How can we possibly ever express our gratitude? Because he came and saved us, and he saved the whole world. And anyone in a Western body, especially, if they don't have an understanding of how they owe their entire existence to this Vaishnava who came to save them, what their relationship is with him for generations to come, for the next, remainder of the Kali Yuga. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, he's the one. There's even a prediction I was reading the other day from the Bhavishya Purana. Somebody was posting, and it's talking about how in the future, in this Kali Yuga, those who are the descendants of Kashyapa and Diti, which are the descendants of the demons, right? They will become Vaishnavas. They will wear tilak on their foreheads. They will chant and perform Samkirtan. And a great personality will come to convert them all. You see? So, this is our family line. This is our family line. So I'm aware of the time because I want everyone to be able to take prasadam. We kind of agreed on that yesterday.
Why don't we continue on Sunday,
I have no objection. Do you want to do that? Continue on Sunday? Yeah, we can certainly do that. Today is Thursday, right? Sorry. Yeah. No, Friday. Yeah. So day after tomorrow.
I won't be able to be here on the day after.
Oh, it's okay.
It's also a Kadasi.
What?
Also a Kadasi.
Yeah.
Sunday?
Is it Monday? No,
I'll check.
It's the day after that.
Yeah, it's on Monday. Parkshavardhani Ekadasi. Oh, it's actually Mahadvadashi. Parkshavardhani Mahadvadashi. On Monday. Okay. All right, so we'll do that. On this coming Sunday, we will continue and we will hear more nectar. And you know what? We really could go on reading nectar of Prabhupada for the rest of the entire year. 3 times 52 weeks is 156 weeks. We could easily go on for 2-hour classes on these 3 days a week and read all about Prabhupada's glories. We could do that. And you know what? It wouldn't be enough. We'd have to go on for another 10 years after that, at least. So, what can we say? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jagat Gurudev Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Nityananda Shakti Avesh Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. This is Prabhupada's melody. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Randana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Randana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Randana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Avirbhav Maho Mahotsav Tithi Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Nandotsava Maha Mahotsav ki jai, Gaur Pranam. Jai Sparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu ki jai. Brindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pradidevi Sachavachai Namo Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees. Vsia slava savravshyam sia priyadami.